to all my diary friends. I'm finally back. I know the wait was like a little long. I'm sorry. But I just wanted to hop on and give y'all a quick update since this is a new season. I have a co-host now. Y'all remember me talking about it. I prayed about it and I have a co-host now. A little backstory. Y'all kind of learn a little more about him as the season progresses, but we actually went to high school together. Actually, we went to grammar school together too. And then once we graduated high school from ages like 19 to 24, he was actually practicing to be a pastor. And so that'll all unfold on the podcast. You'll kind of get to know him a little more, get to kind of see where he's at now. And man, this season I'm so excited that we on Apple now. So we on Google Play, we on Spotify, we still on SoundCloud, we on Stitcher. We coming along, okay? So I just have to say, like, share this podcast with anybody who you think can benefit from it. Honestly, who can benefit from journaling and just the concept that we gonna be able to pass these journals down, whether it's the voice journaling or you actually writing it out, but definitely trying to get back to the pen and the paper so we can leave our families the path that we took to heal. Now we can create that generational healing. We hear everybody constantly talking about generational wealth. Well, what about generational healing? We always talking about how the generations have been broken and now we're finally at a place where we can pass something down to help our children heal when they're going through things, and we can kind of create that guideline of what we went through with our faith and how we got through situations, and really just creating that environment and creating that generational healing. That is what this podcast is for, and we're gonna keep advocating for it. So yes, share. Like us on Apple, like us everywhere. Like us, subscribe on iTunes, leave us comments, follow us on Instagram. I did have the Twitter going for a little bit, but I'm gonna dial that back and reinvent. So follow, subscribe, and leave us reviews. After you listen to each episode, you can leave me a review for each episode. What you thought, what you didn't like, what you like, what you think we should do more of, and just I want to interact more with the audience. So that was a lot, but yes, I'm excited for season 2. I can bring y'all some more tips and tricks, anything I'm praying over it, anything that God wants me to say, it will be said. Okay, so excited for another season. Now here's the show.
Preparation. It's fuel for the future. It's the foundation for success. Whether we are gearing up for the Super Bowl, a job interview, or a major heart surgery, preparation is key.
What's in your diary?
Hey, it's Ty, and welcome to another episode.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy, Mike.
And today's episode is about preparation. So since we're coming up on the new year, we decided to go ahead and do the podcast on preparation because everybody is trying to go into the new year with a new perspective on life and really coming to y'all with what we really need to be focusing on and not getting so distracted. So why is preparation important to you?
I feel like preparation sets yourself apart. I feel like there's good athletes and there's great athletes. There's good doctors and there's great doctors. And I feel like preparation is one of those things that help propel any individual in anything that they are striving towards. Mm-hmm. I think that helps them gain that high level of success.
Yeah. And I totally agree. That brings me to my first scripture, which is Hebrews 12:11, which says, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest, righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." And really, when I first saw this scripture, it just got me to thinking about a recent trip that me and my family went on. And so we went to the pumpkin patch and pretty much went on a little tour, and they were just explaining how the harvest basically of the things that they were selling. So of course they got pumpkins, and basically explaining like the seeds, they can't plant them until spring, and then they take 95 to 120 days to mature. And then we went over to the apples, and they were just explaining for those that the apple trees can actually grow 12 to 20 feet, but then they take 6 to 10 years. I was just thinking like about the instant gratification, like, you know, as we're approaching the new year, do you every year want to have to plant new seeds? Of course, you know, we plant them all the time, but do we really want to go through the process of having to wait every year? You
like,
know, 95 to 100.
Like,
yeah. Like, what are you rooted in? Do you want to wait the 95 to 120 days every year for the same thing? Or are you willing to wait, you know, the 6 to 10 years for this? Like, you're not going to have to redo it every year. Like, it's there, you know? And I feel like sometimes we do kind of get caught up in, like, having everything now and not wanting to wait and not wanting to go through the struggle and not wanting to feel the pain, and just not wanting to be patient and not wanting to prepare and gather all the information that we need. A thought process that I had was that we have to identify our talents and our strengths and our weaknesses at the beginning of the year, but then we're working for a long-term goal, and not every year we're reinventing ourselves. So it's like, do you want to be a pumpkin seed or an apple tree seed? It's like, do you want to work hard for something that's going to give you a way better investment over time, or do we want to have to reinvent ourselves every year so we get like this temporary fulfillment for now because it's quick? And the harvest is way better once we are disciplined, once we do prepare, once we make sure our tree is planted in the right area, we can get the right sun. And another crazy thing that we've learned is that if you plant other random trees around the apple tree, they feed off the nourishment, and they're able to mature faster. So like, who you have around you is also helping you and preparing you for what you have coming. So that was just like my whole perspective, and really thinking about the discipline that it takes to even identify what you need to prepare for, you know?
Right. So proper preparation can lead to a eternal harvest.
Yes.
That's beautiful. I love that analogy to the apple trees. And then the fact that, isn't life crazy how all things like work together, like nature like feeds off of each other, and it's just beautiful. And humans can do the same exact thing. Right,
we can, but a lot of times we don't. We aren't working together, and also sometimes we don't really have the people around us that can even help us identify where we are and
what we lack.
Exactly. Yeah. And having those people around you really helps you prepare everything, because if you get a group of people around you that's only pushing you, how prepared you gonna be? Like, you're gonna always stay on top of everything that you have to do. And then, because then, like, once you are prepared, putting everything into action, it's just done everything. Now it's just about putting it all into action. And I got people around me who are gonna push me to get everything that I want.
I have this in my notes. Strong preparation leads to deep execution. And like when you're saying, when you're prepared, you are going to execute to your highest potential because you took the time to be ready for this specific day, whatever it may be. And I think that's pretty dope. Like, so with that in mind, in a biblical perspective, why should we, as Christians, believers, anybody of faith, why should we prepare ourselves I had said that we should prepare ourselves as if we are meeting God tomorrow. I know that sounds like extreme and very kind of a one-minded track, kind of in a sense. But if you think about it, even though we have the power to prepare and to plan, we still don't know what tomorrow holds. So if I'm not preparing to meet God tomorrow and I'm living whichever way I feel, am I truly ready to meet God to the best of my ability? Especially if he's given me the playbook, you know, if he's given me the sources that I need, his word, people around me, health, all that. If I'm not prepared to meet him, if I'm about to fall on my knees. No, I still would. You know what I'm saying? I wrote, we ought to prepare. I wrote why we should prepare as such, because godliness is of every value. It fuels us and it sets our minds for divine greatness. And I have in 1 Timothy 4:8-10, if you could read that for me.
For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. This is a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance. That is why we labor and strive, because we have to put our hope in the living God, who is the Savior of all people, and especially of those who believe.
Amen. We labor and strive because we have a hope in the living God. That's why I believe that we should prepare, because we have our hope. We have that hope in him, that he has those promises in the present life and in the eternal life. So whether I get the things that I desire, it doesn't matter, because I have this hope that is set before me, that was predestined beforehand, that I'm going to meet my God. And that's just a joyous thing. So that's why I think we should prepare as Christians. What about you, though?
I think we should prepare because you don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know, and we are just trusting God's plan for our lives. So the more we work towards what he wants for us, I just feel like, what else can we do but prepare for his plan, or just trusting his plan and preparing to our best ability.
And for example, say for me, if I want to go to the gym, I like to be prepared to go to the gym. A good meal, a good night's sleep, you know, things out the way. And that preparation gives me hope for what's ahead. So preparation also leads to hope. And when I'm in that hope, I'm in a better creative, better like energy, better mentally all the way. And also when we prepare, our minds are sort of fixed. You know, we're set on this destination that you know, and nothing's promised, but the destination we know afterwards, like, even if I died, like, the destination is with him. I'm gonna be in his rest, and that's a beautiful thing. But even in a sense, like, I
have a question.
What's up?
Do you feel like there's a such thing as being over prepared because your idea of preparation, it might be different from what God has planned? Do you feel like there can be like, I'm over prepared, I'm being too controlling? Because I felt like in the past I was trying to be overly prepared to the point where it was like okay, like, this is everything that I want, but I'm not trusting his plan. So I had to actually dial back and like how much I was preparing for things.
I could say you could be over prepared for sure, because I feel like you got to take enjoyment, you know, take that time to let him work, you know. And that goes to my next point, is when we prepare, our hearts are open to receive blessings with joy, because the journey is what produces the character. And that's in Romans 5:4. You don't have to bring that up. Our friends can look at that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, but if you over prepare, you're gonna miss out on those blessings. You're gonna miss out on what the journey really has for you. Because like I said, we don't really know our destination until we get there. And so you might not like that destination, you know, but so you have to enjoy the journey. You had asked me why preparation was important earlier, and I got to one point and I forgot another part, and that I believe preparation is important because it allows someone to be ready to handle all the tests and trials that are to come our way. That are to come our way in order to achieve a high level of success. When you prepare, you're not just looking at things that you can do, but also you look at things that may happen to you in a sense. So, for example, prior to Super Bowl 41, when the Colts played the Bears in Miami, Hall of Famer Peyton Manning prepared himself for one of the biggest games in his life by watching all 16 games of the Bears plus their playoff games. And then he also had the backup QB watch the 4 preseason games just in case the Bears had run a different defensive play that they haven't run during the regular season. And also so this is where, we can get into, is this over preparation or not?
Right.
But he was so prepared that he even kept watch of the weather on the date of the game, which it was saying it was going to rain. So he, after hearing that, he influenced his coach in the Colts to practice using wet footballs. And turns out that they needed that practice because it rained the entire game and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Not to say that the Bears weren't ready, but Peyton Manning prepared as if everybody's preparing the way that he is, so he wants to prepare a bit more than that. That reminds me of like these Gatorade commercials when they're like, hey, somebody, I worked out at 4 a.m. today, somebody worked out at 3 a.m. today. Are we preparing properly? The level of seriousness he put on preparing for football games, that helped him become one of the best players to ever play the game. And it's like, how many of us are preparing as if we're Peyton Manning,
Exactly. Like, how many people are really taking the time to figure out what they even need to prepare for in the, first place. Like, where am I? Like, what's your report card of where you are now? And looking at everything that you actually need to start building a plan for, and then gathering all the resources. And I feel like we all imagine getting married and having families and doing all these things, but it's like, okay, that's your goal. But how are you planning for it? How are you preparing for it? And then what are you putting in action for it? And I feel like taking the step to actually work on those things, really sitting down and figuring out what the goal is just super important, because if you're not prepared, it's like, how are you even functioning? Are you just going off of what somebody told you? Have you prayed on it? What scriptures do you have for when life hits you and you don't even want to deal with it anymore, or when the trials come? How are you prepared for those? Because you might have a plan and you might be prepared, but did you plan for when things go wrong?
Yeah, is your mind ready for that? To take that adjustment, like, okay, now that's like when Peyton would go to the line and he'll see how the defense is set up. Oh, I've seen this defense before. I know what's coming my way. So now I can adjust accordingly. When you had said, how are you getting through the day? Some go through the day just off their talent, based off, their strengths and such. And that's cool. But that thought that you had said brought me to that thought that you had said earlier about how talent can get you so far, but hard work and what was that?
Yeah, so basically, I know a bunch in sports, they always say hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. So basically, it's a bunch of people out here who are way less talented, but are able to get a foot in the door ahead of you because you haven't prepared. You are talented, but you haven't prepared to the point of your talents. Like, they're not at the same level. It's like you have all these talents, but you have no plan. You're just going off of your talents. You haven't done the research. You don't have a plan. You haven't put all your ducks in a row. Yeah.
And you're just hoping, you got this kind of this hope in your heart, just as long as I show up.
Exactly.
Things are going to work out.
Thinking that's enough. But a lot of times
it'll get you by. I mean,
yeah.
it'll get you, by. But in your heart, you want, like, come on now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, have you ever heard the quote? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a serious one.
And I've been hearing that a lot in podcasts or YouTube videos that a lot of people say, plan, and it's so essential.
Yeah.
And, people can mock that too. There was one time, my former job, we had a competition, like a weight loss competition. And I was one of the captains. And so with that, I was like, oh, for sure. Like, I'm going to set out a plan for you guys,
right, for you to follow.
For you to follow,
it's
tips,
easier.
And such. And I had the quote on there, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And somebody laughed at that, and it's like, oh, so you're just going by chance. Then,
right. Whatever happens.
But these people who have succeeded in life, who have gotten the things that we so desire, had a formula.
Right.
There is a method to the madness,
Right. Just look at all the people, if we just look at our role models and the people that we look up to and the people we kind of model after and look at their track record and look at their habits and look at how they did prepare and how they did plan, and then look at their life and look at your life and look at the past decade. It's like now we're going into a new decade. It's a decade, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and I was thinking about wow, look how much you've grown over the past 10 years, and then evaluating how much further you want to go. And that's to another thing. I feel like even when we were younger, they used to make us write out our goals. And a lot of people, once you become adults, you have no goals. You're working towards an idea of what you think your life should look like instead of writing down a life that you want.
So with that being said, how do you prepare for just the day?
For me, I have my handy dandy planner, and I always try to write down the things that I need to do that are super important for that day. And then even if I don't get them done, I cross out what I get done, and I have an accountability group, so I'll post it for them to see. We did a little challenge where we would have to post it every day, and that really helped me. That was one of the things that I learned then that I needed. I need to write down in my planner every day. It's a way for me to be productive. I won't forget anything, and then if I do, I just write it on the next day. And that's how I have to live. And I learned that a lot of people have to actually do that, and I feel like if that's something that you aren't doing, try it out.
Right.
For anybody listening. And how about you? How do you really get prepared?
I really get prepared for my day by doing things for myself that will fill me up and that'll prepare myself to give myself to the day that I have in store. So I wake up, really try to fix my mind on prayer. I try to enter into prayer. Sometimes I enter back into sleep.
What time do you wake up?
Actually, the last half of the month I've been writing down the times I've been waking up, and I've been averaging about 8:30, 8 o'clock. So I've been steady with that. And then after that, I try to read maybe 15, 30 minutes, and then, write. So I typically just like to write what I prayed on, what today's what I would like to do today, or just a motivational quote for myself. And then I try to exercise mentally. I save the gym for any time, but I try to exercise my mind. I've been doing this app called Elevate, and it's they have different those basic things that you need in school. This is what that is. Yeah, it's the real stuff that you need for everyday life. And I've seen an increase in
how productive.
How productive.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and just my reading has I'm reading faster, I'm taking less time. to read 15 pages a day, you know what I'm saying? And then also, like, I plot out my day, and then I eat something nutritious, so I'm just feeling great, drinking water, all that good stuff. I need about 2 to 3 hours to really
just
prepare.
to focus on yourself. That's a good amount of time
you
every
know?
day.
And then after that, it's like, all right, I got me out the way. Now I can give. You know, I'm filled up. God took care of me. Now I can help take care of others, bring joy to others, bring life. And that's like what I really prepare for. Like, I just want to prepare to do life, to not be in my mind, to not be emotional, to not be depressed, to not be a burden to anybody. I want to prepare so that when I walk into somebody else's room, my light is shining brighter than it last did.
That's good.
You know, you had told me how you prepare for your day. You know, you said you write down, you know, a list of importances that you have to do. A golden nugget that I've learned is that we ought to determine what's important and what's urgent. And if there's and also if there's anything that you can do in less than 5 minutes, do it.
Do it,
Do it.
Touch it. It's the saying, touch it once, don't touch it again, because you less likely to procrastinate on getting it done. So once you start it, finish it.
Yeah. I made it a habit, make my bed. That takes 10 seconds because I only got one pillow and a blanket on it. But I make my bed every morning. Yeah. When I do laundry, I used to not fold those things. And I would have clothes all over.
Same.
And now...
It used to be a mess.
Now, clothes are folded. It's taking less of a stress on cleaning my room.
Exactly.
And now it really only takes 5 minutes to straighten up my room.
Yeah, and you can come home to a nice room every time. How stressful is it coming home to like a junky room every day?
I used to be okay with it.
Really?
Yeah, I used to, like, this is me, you know, or whatever, but...
But did you feel like your mind felt like how your room looked?
Yes.
Yeah. See?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I was talking to somebody about that, like, when your stuff is organized, it's like your mind is just organized. Like, your thoughts, you can process, you can breathe.
Yeah, breathe. Yeah, I was just thinking, like, when you're in a clean room, it's just like the aura is just different, you know, rather than smelling like dirty feet and drawers.
Because then you don't want to come home, you stay out all day.
I don't want to bring a girl home to mess it. I got clothes all over my bed. It looks like we're gonna have to snuggle up on one side, like, you know. Okay, so actually, you had retweeted one of the tweets that I had retweeted last week.
Which one?
Be intentional with your time.
Oh yeah.
And that is a side effect of preparing. When you are intentional, when you prepare, you are intentional with your time. Yeah. You don't, you know, sometimes there's spontaneous things, and that's great. You should do those things, and you should, like,
work hard, play hard.
Right, and I think when you prepare, you know, that allows you to be more loose. Yeah. To take spontaneous trips. You know, like, oh dang, I've actually been saving, you know, pretty well. Maybe can we get a 3-day weekend to Cabo? You know, because we got it.
Right.
You know? And so, like, being intentional with your time on what you're going to focus on, what you're going to do, is going to propel you for a high level of success to live the life that you want. Yeah. Other tips that I could give is to set time for yourself to be ready. And also is my final one, which is, I feel like, the most important, is to fall in love with your journey, because your destination is unknown. I mean, I know we've been talking about preparation and that it can lead to success, and most of the time it does, but in the same sense, we only have so much control of our lives. With that being said, it's like, I can prepare so much and I could do all these things, but if I'm not enjoying the journey and the growth that I'm seeing in myself, then I'm gonna really miss the point, the blessing that's coming with the journey and the process. Truth be told, like, I could prepare so much and not have a single ounce of joy in my heart, because I'm really having this hope, oh man, I just want to reach this certain amount of, you know, success. But what if I die tomorrow? You know, will I have died a happy man while on this journey, while through this storm, this season? It's depending on where my hope is. Is it in the destination, or is it already in my heart? Exactly. You know,
and so, what do you feel? Yeah, like, what do you feel for yourself? Do you feel like if you did die tomorrow?
I was thinking, as I was writing that, I was like thinking, I was like, have I enjoyed my journeys thus far? And honestly, like, yes, like, yeah. And looking back, I went through this year was the first year once I got out of high school, I was in the workforce already. So I've been in the workforce for 6-7 years,
right?
And this is the first year where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna focus on my creative, on what I want to do creatively. I'm sorry. And I enjoyed, even though I didn't have money, I didn't have the resources to do certain things. Like, God showed this deeper side of me, and it's like, wow. And also, like, connected me with people that if I were to be working or having the same job, would I have met those people? Would I have heard the things that I needed to hear?
Right.
Like, I don't know, but one thing I do know is that, man, I really love this life that's becoming whatever it is, and it's pretty great.
Same way. So that's good. I feel like we definitely like on the same page. Because I definitely feel the exact same way. Like, I think if I did go today, it'll be like, okay, well, I did whatever you needed me to do, and then I'm out of here. So,
what about those leaps of faith? People are often scared to take those leaps because they don't feel it as if they're ready.
Right.
Okay, prepare to take a leap of faith. And it's like,
don't make excuses. Excuses inhibit preparation. Because you ain't never going to get prepared if you're making excuses.
Everybody needs to hear this. Everybody needs to hear this. Are you guys listening? Can you say that again, Tyra? You don't have to say verbatim.
Excuses inhibit preparation, because if you make excuses, you're never gonna get prepared.
That's right. So what are certain goals or dreams that you'd like to achieve that you feel that you need to prepare for?
One thing that I just started preparing, like, for real today, is I want to write a book, and I want it to be finished next year. And that was one thing that kind of just, like, I was praying, and then it was just on my mind. And that's normally how I receive, like, my different signs from God. And that was one that I'm now preparing for. And I just actually transcribed, like, half of my video journals into Word documents. And then another one is having a successful podcast, not just a podcast on SoundCloud. And those are the two main ones that I can think of right now. I mean, I also need to not even prepare, but I think I need to stay consistent in the discipline that I've been practicing, as far as, like, eating better. And you know what I need to do? I need to meal prep on the weekends. That's something that I need to prepare for. And coming up with a good plan for that, because I have to cook for 2.5 people.
Yes.
Different meals, because we really don't eat all the same stuff. So yeah, that's another thing. How about you?
So I had asked myself the question of what type of life do I envision myself having in 5 years? And I gave what I thought it would look like, and I said, how will I achieve this? Work to be a spiritually and emotionally healthy being by striving to Christ-likeness, as well as handling my emotions correctly and expressing myself freely, retrain my mind to think positively, being aware of my mental health and being real with myself. And then I also, like, that being said, okay, if I want to be healthy in all areas of my life, how are you going to take those steps? So for one of my goals is certain things I would like to do in life. So what do I have to do to achieve that? And I gave I create every day, set small goals for myself, never stop being a student, invest more into my passions, add value before anything else.
Love it.
Because once you have the value inside of you, you're gonna open up a door of wealth. Like there's gonna be an avenue of people who see your value and want to use that value for good. And I also wrote, somebody who prepares is also aware of the things that can go wrong. So I asked myself, how can you avoid not reaching these goals?
That's a good one. And that's the main thing I focus on with things.
Procrastination is a work of the devil.
Yeah.
It is a work of the devil. And if I'm not on my game, then I try not to be too hard on myself. Like I was really like, but now if I notice that I am kind of veering off, I ask myself, well, why do I feel this way?
Right.
Is it because I'm losing hope, or am I tired? Do I need rest? I got to figure out, okay, what's going on?
Exactly.
Reevaluate. Always reassess, and that comes with self-awareness and self-management.
Yeah. It's like an adult report card, like taking a report of where you are still.
Right.
And I feel like that's something that we can kind of bring to our adulthood from our childhood.
Right. Like school has taught us great things, great tools that will help us in this adult life, and it's like adopt those to your life now. Be your teacher. Be the student and the teacher, and well, let God be the teacher. But in a sense, you are the teacher. You'll reap benefits, and some of the benefits that I written down is that you'll have readiness. You'll be ready to take those leaps. You'll be ready for opportunity. That's another benefit. You'll be able to see opportunity and take it. You'll have peace of mind.
Yes.
You have things in order. You're not all jumbled around. You can think clearly with a clear conscience. You'll have endurance and strength for whatever race you choose to run. You'll have more focus, and you'll have a vision.
Yeah. You'll be disciplined. You'll have resilience, and then you're just able to all around just like increase the way you think. So
yeah, you're gonna continue to transform, and it's that, and then it's like, are you noticing this transformation? And it's also like gotta be such a blessing to other people. Like the apple,
exactly.
Like the apple tree, 6 to 10 years, and then your energy is flowing through to other trees, and they're becoming healthier along the way with you, and that's such a great thing to see. Imagine the tallest tree in the world next to all these other tall trees, and it's just like
they're all feeding off
of each other, and it's just like that's how we should operate in life.
Yes. I think we all need to be apple trees.
I want to be an olive tree.
Olive tree?
Olive tree. Once, like, olive trees can live up to like 1,000 years or something, and
I've never even seen an olive tree.
Me either. I think they're in like Italy or something. I mean, they're probably all over the place. They're probably all over the place.
Oh.
But I heard olive trees can like just continue up to grow and produce fruit. I mean, olives for 1,000 years, and it's Psalm 1:1.
Blessed is the one who does not walk in the steps of the wicked, or stand in the way that the sinners take a sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by stems of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers.
And if you are a believer of the one who has come to save us, then you know that we have the source, the living water that is going to help us, propel us to being the best us that we aspire to be.
Exactly.
No matter who that person you aspire to be, if you are rooted like a tree by streams of living water, you're going to prosper.
Exactly.
That's a promise. That is Psalm 1:1-3 is a promise that you can take faith, rest in.
And I think anybody that's listening to this, God must be trying to do something in your life, because he's doing something through us for us to bring this message to y'all, especially at this time of the year. So take heed, and
2020 is coming up, and it's time to get it cracking. We are seeing clear. We are trying to set you guys up for clarity to enter into that year already prepared to handle your business, to succeed, to grow, to love, and bring joy across the earth. So let's do that, y'all. Let's prepare.
Yes, let's get prepared, and let's be a tree. And so for this week's journal assignment, we can go ahead and write these down, a few steps. So be intentional about your time. Set the time to get yourself ready. You need to have strong preparation that leads to deep execution. And then fall in love with your journey because your destination is unknown. So go ahead and write those down and just focus in on what you need to do. Get your report card again for those steps. Definitely identify your talents, strengths and weaknesses, your goals and your growth areas. Mm-hmm. Come up with your plan and then prepare all your resources and then put that plan into action.
And get it cracking.
And that's it for this week. And we'll see y'all next week.
Later. Love you guys.
Bye.